So this is the final game of the tournament. Quick recap. I lost my first two, won my third game, and here we are, final game. My only game against an adult. His name was Amit, and he had a provisional rating of about 740 or so. And I was no longer at the last table in the lowest bracket. I was close to it though. So I start with Queen's Gambit. Always fun when I get to do that. And I do have some inaccuracies in my Queen's Gambit opening that I should iron out, but it's not a current priority for me because in general I either stay equal or have a slight advantage when I play, even with inaccuracies. So, other things to do here. Okay, pieces are developed. Castling is happening for me. And here's where I noticed some imbalances. Is I had a bishop, my opponent didn't. Instead, opponent had two knights. And so using some of Jeremy Silman's ideas of imbalances, I started to think about plans at this point. It was the first game where I had enough wherewithal to think of plans. And so I wanted to open up the position here. I also noticed opponent hadn't castled yet. And so I was going to try to take advantage of that by opening things up before they had castled. And putting my rook on the semi-open file, it should have developed my queen, but, not terrible. The move, or the book, move first, think later, basically refutes Silman's book. That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't finished Silman's book, so I can't speak 100% to it. And as far as imbalances, I haven't put them into play a ton, but especially when it's an imbalance of knights and bishops, I think that's valuable. That's kind of like a general chess principle. Okay, so once again, I'm trying to open up the center. The opponent still hasn't castled. And opponent blunders. Huge blunder. And I knew that there was a discovered check here with my rook lined up with the king. I just really wanted to make sure I capitalized on it in the best way possible. And it took me a minute to spot. Online, I think this would have been a quick spot for me. Over the board, a little less so. But I realized that in order to fully make use of the discovered check, my knight would have to make an attack somewhere. And where he ends up attacking is this hanging knight. And so game is nearly over at this point. Winning advantage for me. And I learned from my first game with Michael, though, is don't lose focus. That was something I found very surprising in this tournament, is how intensely I had to stay focused for every single move, because my opponents were fighting too. And at this point, very similar theme to the game with Havaya, I was trying to line up on b7. Not enough pressure right now because the queen is protecting it. But here I realize I have a couple ideas. First, just pushing a queen around. And then offering a check, forcing the king to move. And then here's my brilliant move. I made a brilliant move in my first tournament. Brilliant move. Knight to c7. And the reason it's brilliant is if knight takes, the queen can't protect b7. And not only that, but now light squared bishop has eyes on b7, and that would be mate. So opponent can't take the knight with knight. They could take with the queen, but since I'm already at material, it would be in my favor still. What about rook c7? We can explore that, sure. Okay, so that's best move. And show the tactic. Yep. Okay, so rook c7 also has this threat. And if, same idea where if the knight takes, then it's mate here. So they have to take with the queen. So yeah, that is cool. Thank you for pointing that out. This is what I went with. And it does win me material because opponent just doesn't have the arsenal to defend anymore. And did I play this endgame accurately? No. But did I still win? Yes. I did spend a really long time looking for the mates, and I just couldn't quite see them. So you'll notice some, like, inaccuracies here. But, you know, and to Amit's credit, you know, he was making some big threats. Rook can't move right now, though, because it's pinned. And I didn't care a ton about the pawns here because I had so much pressure on opponent. And here it was mate in 6, and this was another position where I stopped for quite a lot of time to try to suss out best moves, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it over the board because this doesn't work. King can escape here, king can escape here, although if king escapes here, wins a queen. So if here, though, it just wasn't super clear. Resting for rest, thanks to Java Bandit for the gifted. What a legend of chess Twitch. Ah, you love the Pikachu? Yay! And yeah, Java Bandit, I very much appreciated that gift. It is what allowed me to buy a tournament board and, like, just have fun with it. Rook a1. So I did look at this earlier. But yeah, I missed it. So best would be rook c7. And then show the follow-up, please. Discovered, check. Okay. So, you know, it was mate in 6. It was, you know, 6 hours into the tournament. My brain was starting to feel fried. And because I just wasn't spotting it, I didn't make best move, but I felt like I had a strong enough advantage that I just needed to simplify at this point. You'll notice the endgame gets maybe a little hairy, but I force a queen trade and start to eat the pawns. And I now have 2 rooks to their rook, but they do have some passers that I think is the reason why Amit hasn't resigned yet, is he's holding out hope that his passers can promote, and then he can have a material advantage. So we keep endgaming. I move my rook here to prevent more passing in. And I forgot the king could move here though. So super good on me. But I figure, okay, if they're gonna pawn race on king side, I'm gonna pawn race on queen side. Get their rook off the board, so I have the only long range piece. And I think it was at this point that I realized, I calculated the pawn race and realized that I would win. Because the problem is their king is in front of their other pawn, meaning that even if my rook has to go, my pawn can promote first. Unfortunately, Amit did not play the pawn race well, and at this point allowed me to keep my rook on the board. Because yes, he promoted, but the problem is I promote with check, so I get the queen for free. And then from here, he plays on, and I go for mate. Game's over. GG! And so that was the end of the tournament. This is the game I was happiest about, because it definitely felt like a more earned win than my win against Tavaya. And good tactical awareness. Thank you. Yeah, like by game 4, my nerves were gone. My board vision was starting to come in a little bit more. And I felt like this was closer to the type of chess that I would like to say represents me. And this game did take quite a lot of time. By the end, Amit had less than 5 minutes on his clock. So we were one of the final boards and people were walking around. So it was kind of a nice dovetail for my first game where people were walking around and seeing that I was losing, to this game where they were walking around and seeing that I was very winning. Although the arbiter stood by our board for quite some time around, where was the mate I missed? Yeah, here. I was thinking a long time. Arbiter came by and I was like, gosh, I know that you see it and I don't see it. Proxy, hope my tournament went well. Yes, so we were just finishing up the review of it. I won 2, lost 2, came in 8th of 14, which for my under 1,000 bracket, you know, I'll take that